All right. Welcome to another episode of the Blue Bloods College Game Time podcast. It's your boy, Trey Smith.
And it's Brandon Holmes. Man, welcome to Blue Bloods College Game Time podcast, a podcast for the fans, by the fans. And it was a crazy week 9 yesterday. I am not happy.
I know you're not.
Camper this morning.
I know you're not.
I'm not.
I know you're not.
I am.
And I know why. And I know you're going to get to that later in this episode.
I am.
But you said it, man. We are the college sports podcast for the fans, by the fans. That's what we are. We're just two college sports fanatics.
Yes, sir.
You see, I'm repping right now. I'm not even a Baylor guy, but this is a very, if you're watching the video right now, not just listening, which you can listen to us on Apple or Spotify. If you just put in Blue Bloods, we're one of the top ones that pops up.
Top ones.
But this Baylor shirt I got on, it says 900 Pound Club. That's a shout out to my dad. He was a Baylor Bear back in the early 80s, late 70s, won the Southwest Conference Championship in 1981. And this was a very exclusive shirt that was given out to players that I think had a combined total lift of 900 pounds for like squat, clean, and bench or something like that. Now I get to wear it, but I'm rocking it because those Bears, man, they're rolling right now. They're rolling. And my Hogs, my Razorbacks were on their bye week, so I figured I'll show some love to the Baylor Bears. But B. Holmes, let's get into week 9, man. What you think?
Yeah, week 9, man. You know, I think some of you guys who have been following us, if you don't know, man, we just did some stuff. We're partnering with Fish Sports, man. Shout out to Mike Fisher over there on Sports Illustrated.
Uncle Fish.
Uncle Fish, man, shouting out, showing us some love. So we dropped a new segment. You can find it every Friday called our Pick'ems. Some of you guys know them as our bold prediction, but we kind of switch it over to Pick'ems so we can kind of have some diversity amongst the game. And, man, let's just kind of dive into it, man. Our Pick'em. So this past week for me, man, it's been a bad Saturday of college football for me. It was a bad Saturday. My Wolverines lost, and all 3 of my picks went down. I had Ole Miss over Auburn, which is going to be a tough game. I had Kentucky over Mississippi State, and I had our boys down there in Dallas, the Pony Express, SMU over Houston, and nobody won. Nobody won. Nobody. It was rough, man. It was rough.
Well, I, on the other hand, had a pretty good day. In fact, I was undefeated against the spread Saturday, but the over-under, not so much.
Yeah.
Because I had Baylor over Texas, which they took care of business. I had Michigan State and the points over Michigan, and they beat them outright, which I'm not going to say too much about that. I'm not going to pour salt on the wound. I'm sure a little bit later here, you've got a whole spiel on that. I had Auburn over Ole Miss, which they took care of business in that game. I had a feeling with Ole Miss going to Jordan-Hare, it just seemed like Ole Miss was going to hit that brick wall eventually. And if those of you that watched the Bowl Pick'em episode we dropped Friday, which we dropped it at like midnight. We're not going to drop them that late normally. We were having some technical difficulties. So we're going to work on this week getting that up earlier. Still got some good engagement though, so we appreciate those of you that watched
for supporting it.
And but anyways, I had a feeling, like I said in that episode, that Auburn's seems to be peaking right now at just the right time.
Yeah,
they have the new coach, new system.
Yeah,
same dudes though. Yeah, same dudes. I mean, it's Auburn,
freshman, man, and it's crazy. Yeah, they had a good team.
And I just had a feeling that Ole Miss was going to hit the brick wall, which they did. But what's crazy about that game? If Lane Kiffin, and I understand he has a philosophy, he has something he believes in, and we've talked about that, like with Dabo Swinney and some other coaches, you respect that. But how many points did he leave on the field? How many points did he leave on the field? Because he won't kick a field goal.
Yeah.
And I bet if you went back and watched that game, particularly just the second half, you could probably find enough points that were left on the field that would have resulted in a victory for the Rebs. Had they just settled for the points in those situations. So anyways, that was number 3. What was my other one? Oh, I mean, look, I said, if you were feeling a little lucky, if you're feeling a little crazy, if you just wanted to have a little fun, spice up your Saturday, I said, go ahead and take the Tulane and the points over number 2 Cincinnati. And sure enough, they covered. Tulane was plus 27. I mean, look, it ain't like that's just this rocket science,
right
type deal. But I like I said, 4-0 against the spread, and then I think I missed every single one of my over-unders. Michigan State, Michigan, I was under because I thought I just knew that was going to be a 21-17 game. A grind it out, fight it to the finish. No, that game was a shootout. Then Baylor and Texas, and then Auburn, Ole Miss. Both those were pretty high-scoring games, but they didn't cover. They didn't go over with their point spread, whatever the over-under was for those games. But that was my week. It's pretty good if you stayed away from the over-under. So I'd highly encourage you to come watch this upcoming Friday. Our week 10 is what it'll be. Our week 10 pick'em.
I'm disappointed in my pick'ems because all year we've done bowl predictions and I've been solid. Yeah. I've been keeping up. I've been very solid. And I'm like, the first time we really put it out there, I go 0 for 4.
Hey, here's what's crazy too is I've been slumping all year on the bold predictions.
Yeah.
Every bold prediction I'm coming here going, well, I went 0 for 2, 0 for 3. Then we switch up the title. We call it a pick'em, and we officially put it up on Uncle Fish's channel. And then boom, like all of a sudden I'm 4-0 against the spread, and I'm
coming back, guys. I'm coming back. I'm about to do some mad research this week.
It's your bounce back week. Okay, well, let's get in. Those of you that have been listening to us since day one, since the beginning of this season, to this new podcast we've got, our template. We go bold prediction, which is now our bold pick-ems. Or quick pick'ems. We go our weekend surprise. We go our weekend overrated and or disappointments. And so, B. Holmes, I'm going to go ahead and get my surprise in.
All right, go for it.
And it's not the first time I've talked about this team on this podcast.
Okay.
Started talking about them a couple weeks ago. And in fact, I was talking about them in terms of maybe that they were due for an upset.
Yeah.
Then they did not get upset when I thought they would. And then last week I started talking about, do we need to look at this team a little bit closer? Does this team need to start getting a little bit more respect? And dude, that's the Demon Deacons of Wake Forest. I mean,
didn't see that.
They're 8-0. Okay. They're averaging 43 points per game. And their average margin of victory right now is 19.5. So let me put it to you in these terms.
Okay.
If the Clemson Tigers right now were 8-0, averaging 43 points per game, winning by an average of 20 points, margin of victory, is that not a top 2 probably playoff team?
They would be number 1 because they would have beat Georgia. They'd be number 1.
Okay, so the AP poll just dropped. Mm-hmm. Okay, and now you may be watching this at a different point in time, but as of when this is being recorded, I'm pulling it up right now. The AP poll, and it looks like Wake Forest is 10th. Number 10. Now, I'm not saying that's even wrong. But what I'm saying is that if Clemson, who plays in the same conference and I believe the same division, had the same record, the same points per game totals, and the same margin of victory totals,
yeah, it's a completely different story.
Completely different. So, obviously, we've got the first official release of the college football playoff this coming Tuesday.
Yep.
Stay tuned because we will be dropping a Blue Bloods Fish Report video reacting to that on Tuesday night. But I'm curious where Wake Forest is as it pertains to that conversation because it's a Power 5 team. They're undefeated. They beat every team that's in front of them. I'm not trying to say that their schedule is comparable to some of those teams that are playing in the SEC right now or, well, I mean,
whatever else.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you could compare their schedule to a Big 12, but let's see. Yeah,
I just I'm a big fan. This is where I don't like these polls sometimes because it's the whole reason why we play the game, right? If I'm undefeated, there should be no way another team that's defeated, has lost one game, should be in front of me.
So check this out.
I don't like that.
Check this out. ranked above them, since you brought up one-loss teams, I'm looking at it right here. We've got, oh, you got it up. So you got Michigan, Notre Dame, Oregon, Ohio State, and then Bama. But I mean, I'm not going to argue with Bama.
No, I will, because they lost the game. That's why we play games. That's why we play. Like, to
Speak
me,
on
it's why would we play this is my biggest thing with it, right? And people say they get slaughtered. Well, at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control. And the controllables that you can control is win the game. We play the game, I win it. I can't control that the powers that be, that are ADs, decided to form a conference that is the ACC, that formed a conference that's the Big 12, that's formed a conference the SEC. All I can do is win the games that are put in front of me. And if I can't get rewarded for that, then it's like, why are we playing the games? At the end of the day, just create a super league, allow those dudes to play a round robin, and call it a day. So people say, well, Bama would slaughter Wake Forest. Well, Bama also lost the game. So they should have to work to prove that. Wake Forest shouldn't have to prove that they deserve it based upon like fan bias or let's just be real, money bias. But at the end of the day, I don't even think I would tune in for this is why we love NCAA basketball. It's the Cinderella story. It's the underdogs. And I would watch. Like, I think about Colt Brennan a couple years ago when Hawaii faced Georgia. It was a slaughter. But you know what? We got to find out. Could they hang with the big dogs? Same thing with Boise State versus OU. That it's almost over. It's definitely over a decade ago. We got to find out. That was the beauty of it. And what did that game give us? One of the greatest college football games of all time, right? That's what put what's the head coach? Put him on the map from Boise. You know, it was a great game. So
Peterson.
Put Peterson on the map. Like, I still remember the Ian Johnson touchdown. Like, that's why
the hook and ladder. The hook and ladder to tie it. The Statue of Liberty to win it. I mean, what a game. Yeah.
What a game. But if we keep doing this thing where it's like, oh, Wake Forest will get slaughtered by Bama, well, just tell Bama don't lose.
And I think to piggyback off of that, let's just say Wake Forest wins out. They're 12-0. They win their conference championship. So they are now an undefeated ACC champion. From the way the polls are looking now, even though it's the AP, and I know it's not the CFP and how they're operating, but I wouldn't be shocked to see a one-loss SEC, a one-loss Ohio State, a one-loss Notre Dame. I wouldn't be shocked to see a couple of teams with one losses in that college football playoff over Wake Forest, even though to me, Wake Forest's resume at that point in time would absolutely justify them getting a shot to play in the college football playoff.
I agree.
And I'm curious. I mean, I am a little surprised. Man, number 10. They're 8-0. They're in a Power 5 conference. Meanwhile, we've got Cincinnati. What are they still? Did they drop? Let me look. No, number 2. Number 2. 8-0 Cincinnati playing in the old American Athletic. And then, of course, you got Bama at 3. And then the one and only 9-0 team in the country is number 4, which is OU, who I've had some takes early on in the season, but man, since that quarterback change and the fact that they've been able to win some of these games where it looked like they weren't going to, whether it be that Texas game, they survived the scare against Kansas. Who knows? I mean, they're 3 wins away from playing for a conference championship. And we do have a take on a potential pathway for them to actually enter the college football playoff as the number 1 team. It's interesting. That Wake Forest team, I'm trying to figure them out. They're putting up points. They're beating teams. Not that they haven't had some close games. Look, that margin of victory is the average over the course of the season. So they've had a couple close, field goal type wins, 3-point wins and whatnot. I'm just saying, when you're averaging 43 points per game, you're winning your games by an average 20 points, and you're 8-0 in a Power 5 conference, and you can't get better than number 10?
Put some respect on my name. Man.
Yeah. I'm using that in my locker room.
Yeah, definitely.
Because that the closest thing I think you could compare, and I know I'm going, in college football, 4 weeks down the line, we're getting really deep into the future because anything could happen week to week. But the closest thing you could compare to Wake Forest winning out and getting gypped from playing in the college football playoff was UCF that year. Yeah. But UCF was a group of 5 team,
which is understandable.
And I think they actually did not play a game because of a hurricane.
It was a storm. I think a hurricane. If I'm
correct. So they were down a game, which, look, that wasn't their fault. They still won all the games that were in front of them. But they're a group of 5 team. They played one less game than the other teams. Therefore, they had one less potential win. And that's the closest thing to this. To me, if you have a Power 5 team that wins their conference, and they get gypped or they get surpassed by a one-loss team, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I think, I'm always going to be like the money guy. If I'm looking at the money, I think the NCAA is missing out on a lot of money because the casual fan will tune in for the upset. Like, if I'm a casual fan, I'm like, oh, that Bama team's playing again. But I'm like, Wake Forest? Who? Oh, I'll watch that. I think it is what it is. But I think to piggyback off that, like going into my biggest surprise, man, I did not see this coming. Those boys down in Miami, man, the Miami Hurricanes.
Yes.
They have had back-to-back top 25 wins. They beat North Carolina State last week. They beat Pitt after I just hyped up Pitt last week too. It's just been a bad week. They hyped up Pitt last week. I'm just going to stop talking about your team, man. I'm sorry. Like, this has just been a rough week for me. Man, and they played good. And so I'm looking at their schedule. This is who they have. And like you said, let's not get 4 weeks into too far, right? But the next 4 weeks they have Georgia Tech, which is a winnable game. Florida State, which is it's a rivalry game, but it's winnable. Virginia Tech, Justin Fuente is on the hot seat there. And then Duke. So I'm like, this team that everybody thought was out of it in Miami could potentially finish with an 8-4 record if they'll go to a bowl 9-4 and then a top 25 finish, which I think, kind of cools the hot seat off of Manny Diaz. But I was really shocked, man. They're playing some good football. That Van Dyke quarterback, he's looking great. I think what helped is one of their running backs went down and they kind of had just like singular focus on one guy. And they got some ballers. I mean, Rambo from OU transferred over there as a receiver. Like, they got another guy, I think they came from Georgia. So they got talent. It's just always like it wasn't clicking. And I think I like De'Aaron King, their quarterback. I might say like maybe he might have been holding them back a little bit. Because I think they were trying to work a system around him that wasn't their system. Now you got a guy that runs your system. Van Dyke's kind of what they were probably looking for. I think, De'Aaron's a phenomenal athlete. I think he's a good quarterback. But you needed some spread elements, some zone read. He's an athletic kid. And I don't think that's exactly what Miami was trying to do. And so, man, they've been playing some really good football, man. They were my biggest surprise. I watched that game. They picked up Kenny Pickett. I mean, just as the other day, everyone's saying Kenny Pickett was going to be the, potential first-round draft pick.
Right.
And I don't think so. Not after that game yesterday, man. Miami.
He almost brought him back. He almost did.
He did. He almost did, but almost only counts in horseshoes. So if almost was a stat, Michigan would have 3 national championships by now. So almost doesn't count in this game. But yeah, that was my biggest surprise, man. I love Miami. I like what they're doing. Shout out to my boy Edwin. He texted me that morning like, "This is a game you're gonna want to look out for." I'm like, "Oh no, I'm watching it." Because I just really want to see if Pitt could live up to it. Because I think they potentially would be somebody who might challenge Wake Forest, and I think the conference championship game, if I'm correct.
Okay.
So
on opposite divisions.
Yeah, I wanted to see it. But after that, man, and what Wake Forest is doing, I think Wake Forest potentially just wins out.
You said Wake Forest?
Yeah, I think they win out.
Yeah.
I think they win out.
And that's the thing. If you're listening right now, it's not like we're these big ACC guys or anything like that. It's just, one, even as a casual college football fan, you said this a second ago, you're always kind of pulling for the underdog. And then as a big-time college football fan, anytime there's a team rising up like this that is different, like what have we seen every year? Every year we've seen Clemson just plow through the ACC, win the ACC championship, take care of business. And when you see that 4, 5, 6 times in a row, and you see this other like not like a Miami or a Florida State. I mean, it's Wake Forest. It's a team that doesn't have any kind of history of doing this, and you want to pull for them, even if you could care less about
who's on the team,
anything about them. And I think it also opens up a conversation too, where, what other universities, if they were making that kind of run, would be in the same boat, whether it be, I know SMU just lost yesterday. I'm going to actually talk about them here in a minute, but that's a team I've been pretty high on here lately. And I know it's a group of 5 team, but I'm just wondering, hey, if they went on this crazy run and took care of Cincinnati here in a few weeks or whatever, would they have been left out? Would they have gotten the same respect that Cincinnati's getting right now? Or is Cincinnati almost exclusively getting all of this respect because they beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame?
Yeah,
I mean, College Game Day is going to Cincinnati, Brandon. Like, they're going to Cincinnati for Tulsa, for Cincy, Tulsa. You have A&M and Auburn getting ready to play in a game that could potentially decide who represents the West in the SEC championship. Now, there is one other massive domino that has to fall, but this game this weekend between those two teams could decide that.
Yeah.
And College Game Day is going to Cincy, Tulsa.
But you got to remember, Cincy was kind of getting hyped since the last year.
It's true.
Because I think they finished undefeated last year. Or maybe they lost one game. I can't remember.
Lost to Georgia, didn't they? In the bowl game?
Or something like that. Yeah, in the bowl game.
Ritter.
Ritter was a Heisman, hopeful at the top of the season. Luke Fickell's one of the hottest names in the coaching cycle. Like, it's like the perfect storm for Cincinnati right now. Like, all the right pieces are falling into place, have fallen into place. Because you got to figure out that this year, Ritter's gone. He's going to the league. Fickell's definitely gone after this year. I don't think he sticks around to go to the Big 12. I think he goes to a bigger program. And, Cincinnati would go back to being a good, 7-5 or 8-4 team, which they normally, they're normally a decent group of 5 football team. I just think everything just kind of fell into place for them this year, coming off of last year. And, they've kind of, and then like you said, they got the win on the road at Notre Dame. And, because that's the only thing anybody ever talks about. Oh, they won on the road at Notre Dame. And so that's kind of been their signature win. And thankfully, Notre Dame's been playing some good football towards the end of the year.
They keep winning.
They keep winning, so it makes Cincy look that much better. So that's kind of my whole deal on Cincinnati. I mean, and I guess, that's why we say you play the games. We got 4 weeks left to kind of figure out how this thing is going to – somebody's going to fall. Somebody that's anybody besides the name Georgia is going to fall, I believe, in the next 4 weeks.
Well, and I'm looking at it right now. Cincinnati, they had 11-win season in 18, 11-win season in 19. 20, they had a 9-win season, but it was a shortened season of COVID. Their only loss was to Georgia in the bowl game, and then now they're 8-0. So I hear you. Yeah, I mean, they've sustained some success that is earning them more respect than if they were just a group of 5 team that was having this flash in the pan type season, which you could make the argument UCF had that year with Frost. Or I guess SMU, even though, hey, if Dyke stays around, if he doesn't take one of these other like tech job or whatever, he might have them in that same type of conversation. Okay, so let's get into overrated disappointments. I've got an overrated and a disappointment this week.
Yeah, I don't.
And my overrated, what'd you say?
I don't even have an overrated this week.
My overrated, and you know, Brandon, who I'm going to say, and people who have been listening to us since the beginning know who I'm going to say. Anyone who's watching us for the first time or listening to us for the first time, I have an ongoing beef with the Iowa State fan base, and it goes back to week 0. So get on my Twitter line at It's Trey Smith. You see it right here. If you're watching, it's right here underneath me right there. Okay. At It's Trey Smith. Go and scroll back to week 0 and look at the interaction between me and that fan base, and you'll know why there is a beef. Or you can go back and listen to our first couple of episodes of the Blue Bloods College Game Time podcast. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, and all the other platforms wherever you get your podcasts. So I'm picking Iowa State as my overrated team of the week because ISU has pretty much been playing the hokey pokey with the top 25 all year, right? It's like you put the Cyclones in, then take the Cyclones out. You put the Cyclones in just to take them right back out. It's like they get in, they start off as what, number 7, I think?
They were number
they
7.
Were number
top
7. Then they're in 2 weeks out of the
Who's
top
not
25 altogether. Then they climb themselves back into the top 25. I think they were number 22.
They were 22 yesterday.
Yeah, number 22 on Saturday, and lost to West Virginia, who really, I mean, it's not like they're having this great season to boast about or anything like that. And now they're right back out. I mean, I didn't officially look for Iowa State. I guess I can peek down here real quick just to check.
No, they're out, bro. You don't have to look.
Yeah, they are not in. So I got Iowa State, ISU. I know I've got some probably, I know it's a little personal with me and that team and fan base. I mean, I actually like Matt Campbell, but I
love the city.
That's my overrated team. And then my disappointment, I alluded to this earlier, but SMU, man, I was so looking forward.
I was heartbroken.
Yeah, I was looking forward to a 10-0 versus 10-0 SMU Cincy matchup. Now that's one that I think would be worthy of a game day visit. That would have been awesome.
Electric. That would have been electric.
But they lost to Houston. Dana Holgerson. Hey, and that tells you about West Virginia, the team that just beat Iowa State. Their coach left to go take a group of 5 job
after being in a Power 5 conference.
At Houston. And it wasn't like he wasn't having success at West Virginia, or didn't get any success. I mean, I guess maybe when he left, I don't know what his record was that season, but they definitely aren't near the relevancy level right now as they were when Holgerson was their coach.
Right.
But he's at Houston now, and man, that game, I'm not going to say it was a walk-off kick return TD, even though it kind of was a walk-off kick return TD. Just crazy, man. SMU was down pretty big early. They fought back, came back, tied it up. I actually had that on one of my screens. I was in triple screen action. I think I had last night. At that point in time, I had Ole Miss, Auburn, Ohio State, Penn State, and then SMU, Houston. And I look over and I see that dude take it to the house to give them the lead. And
I had to catch up on that. I was in pitch black. We had a power outage on my block last night. So
that's right.
Midway through the Ole Miss game, it's just like complete, man. Like, and I thought I didn't pay my electric bill, so I was so nervous. I was like, did I not pay my electric bill? That is so unlike me. and then I go in the hallway, and it's like pitch black. I was like, oh, okay. And I hear I live in the city, so I hear this guy's like, what the F? The power's out. I'm like, all right, I guess it's a block outage.
It's not just me.
It's not just me. Yeah, so no, I had to catch up on all that yesterday. This morning, and I was like, I really want SMU to kind of keep it going.
Yeah, well, SMU though today they're still in the top 25. I still think that game against Cincinnati it's obviously still a huge game, especially even if it's a 9-1 SMU versus a 10-0 Cincy. Obviously not the same type of impacts and ramifications as if they were both 10-0, but still looking forward to that. Hopefully SMU can shake this off. But then Houston's another team you got to look at and go, I think now they're 7-1, so they could win out. I mean, you've got some parity there in that league, and I don't know. I always like seeing teams like Houston or SMU if when bowl season rolls around, if they could pull a matchup with like a Texas or a Texas A&M or an Arkansas or I'm not going to say Texas Tech necessarily this year, but just something where you could get back, or Baylor even, get one of those old Southwest Classic games in a bowl game. I personally, just as a kind of college football historian in my own right, like I appreciate, born and raised in Texas my whole life. I love the Southwest Conference. The Southwest Conference was still a thing when I first started watching college football, at least my earliest memories of it. And so anyways, when I'm playing my NCAA 14 Dynasty, I always create my super conference, and I have the Big 12 becomes the North and the South, but the North is the old school Big 8 and the South is the old school Southwest Conference. So hey, if you're still into that.
Hey, I had to avenge some losses yesterday on NCAA. Speaking of avenging losses, my biggest disappointment.
Let it out.
Michigan Michigan. Okay, let me start out like this. I'm proud of myself because there used to be a time where that would wreck my entire week. But as you guys know from former episodes, if you've listened, my dad has a rule. Shout out Tommy Brooker. He texted me the other day. He's like, I just remembered your dad's rule. Those guys aren't thinking about you after they lost. They're not thinking about you. They don't care. I mean, they're hurting that they're lost, and there's probably a little bit more involved in the loss in college football, but no one's thinking like we let Brandon Holmes down. So I was upset for maybe 30 minutes. You know, I had to block a troll in my DMs. There's this guy. He's like, since college, has been fascinated with blowing me up whenever Michigan loses. I don't know why. It's his like point in life. So I just block him. You know, I'm here for banter, but when it gets annoying and trolling, I'll block you. Here's my thing with Michigan, man. And this, I'm not going to sit here and blame the refs. I'm not going to do that. A lot of fans did. I do think it was terrible officiating, if I'm being honest. There was some terrible missed calls. And this is where I'm really disappointed, Trey. Great game. It'll go down as probably one of the best games. The last game I remember like that was the TJ Duckett game in like 2001, where they actually ran the clock out, but they were at Michigan State, and the clock extended like a half second longer for them to snap the ball, and TJ Duckett scores. So I wasn't going into it. We're at State. So I know some stuff is going to be silly. It always happens this way. It's Halloween weekend. This was why I'm disappointed. Because they're not a better team. Like when I'm watching the game, and I believe I'm an objective fan. I'm watching the game, and I'm like, outside of Kenneth Walker, who really had just kind of like 5 big runs, they played a great game. Michigan really kind of was in control. It's the thing that has disappointed me about Harbaugh teams, though. We our touchdown conversion rate is like 56%. So we have like 80% in the red zone, but we're only 56. Only half of those we score touchdowns. And this is where I'm watching the game. I think we were texting. You can go through my Twitter feed. It's on me right now if you want to go look back. I said it.
Real B. Holmes.
I said it the whole game. I said, you got to put them out early. If you let them hang around, they're going to think they can win this thing, and they probably will. Because that's Mel Tucker's whole thing. We're going into the deep. And if I can keep you, he has those guys believing if we hang in the game long enough, they're going to beat themselves. And so, realistically, the game comes down to 2 plays. If I really want to get technical, 3. The first play that we miss is first quarter. We just score. We get the ball back. We stop them. I mean, dominant. We throw the wheel route to Blake Corum on 3rd and 4. He drops it. Blake Corum runs a 4.4 laser 40. He's one of the fastest dudes in the Big Ten. If he catches that, I think the closest guy is 15 yards away. That's 6. There's no way. That's 6. I texted you that. I was like, that's 6. That puts the foot on the neck right there out of the gate. You can't stop us. This is the call that this is where the second play that I said it, and I said it when it happened. I tweeted it. Go check my Twitter. This might cost us the game. Going into halftime when we got the strip sack fumble for a touchdown. Because what did we lose by? 4 points. We lost by 4. I said it when it happened. I go, if we lose the game, it comes back. Because it's not just about the points to me in that moment. The momentum was slowly creeping towards Michigan. Slowly. And that play right there, my friend was texting me because he's at the game. He goes, that play took the life out of here. Like, at that point, Michigan's making momentum. They're scoring. They can't really stop us. You hit that, because in my mind, you hit that play, you kick it off, they go into halftime, and then we come back out and score after halftime like we did. Game's over.
Done.
You're done. You're done.
2 things on that. First, what a horrible call.
Horrible.
I mean, what a horrible call. Might be the worst call of the season to this point. And this is coming from, like, to me, as a Razorback fan, that call reminded me of the Auburn game last year, Arkansas-Auburn, when Bo Nix spiked it behind him, fumbled, Arkansas recovers. Everyone is still clearly playing out the rest of the play, and they still overturned it or didn't even overturn it. They let Auburn keep possession. Okay, it was bad or worse than that. The also think that the running back, Michigan State's running back, who, I mean, this is another conversation, but what a Heisman moment for him.
Yeah, good job, Kenneth Walker.
But that first touchdown,
he flipped the ball.
He flipped it out.
It was out.
But without getting that's not my second thing. My second thing was this. I was texting you. If Michigan can go down here and score a touchdown and not have to settle for 3, I was like, it's a wash. You're good. All is well. When they kicked that field goal to go into half, sure, it was still good. I mean, it's better than not, because then they kicked a field goal going into half.
Yeah, they kicked a field goal going into half.
Yeah. And I remember I just thought, that's it. Like, it's not that that's it. That's all Michigan State needed. That's all they needed. Is just to keep them from scoring, and they're going to come out the second half thinking they can win.
And that's my thing. So I say all that, and I love these guys, man. This has been one of my favorite Michigan teams to follow. I'm still going to follow them. I think there's still a chance. This is what I'll say. Even though I'm disappointed, I'm really disappointed because I kept replaying the game in my mind at the end of the day. And outside of that play, this is the third play. Peyton Thorne has played pedestrian the entire game. That fourth down throw where he threw the most perfect ball over our 5-star safety. And it was beautiful defense. There was nothing he could do about that. Nothing. If he doesn't complete that play. And it's funny, we've played football in high school. They always say it comes down to like 3 plays in a game. It's about 3 different plays. Those 3 plays change the trajectory of the game. Blake Corum doesn't catch that ball, changes it. That call and against the fumble sack changes it. And he did not make a great throw in the entire game, but that one throw. And when he made that throw, I'm sitting here on my couch and I go, that's it. That's all they needed. And my disappointment is this, though. It's like, it's just kind of what you expect as a Michigan fan. I texted you that. I texted you. I was like, it's over. And I wasn't trying to be like, oh, woe was me. I just knew it. It was one of those games where you could feel the longer they stayed in it, the more they believed. And I was just kind of sitting there waiting. I was like, when is the shoe going? When is it going to drop? Because something's going to happen. And I mean, I feel bad, man, that JJ fumbles that ball. And I even said that if he doesn't fumble the ball, I still think we win. We're moving the ball. We probably go get another field goal. We're up. If we get a field goal on that drive, we're up by 10 with 3 minutes to go. I don't think we lose that. So it's disappointing because I just want Harbaugh to win those games, man. It just feels like we're always on the other end of that.
Yeah.
And for Mel Tucker to come in, thank God he's leaving next year. I don't care what anybody from Michigan State is thinking. They do not have the pocketbooks to keep that man in the game. There's no way he's staying in East Lansing. He is the hottest coach in America right now. The hottest coach. The hottest name. I think he is a shoo-in for the LSU job. And I've been doing my research all week. LSU people love. I think he's a shoo-in for it to be in Baton Rouge next year. It's just disappointing, man. And at this point, I think the disappointment as a Michigan fan is where do you go from here? Because if you fire Harbaugh, who do you hire?
Right.
You don't really get much better than Harbaugh. And to his defense, and I'm objective. He's caught the Big Ten at probably the best run we've ever had as a conference. You have arguably Urban Meyer, who's going to go now, let's just say one of the top 3 college football coaches of all, let's say top 5, where he created a machine at Ohio State. You get the D'Antonio years at Michigan State, which was a run in itself. And so you kind of come into this era of the Big Ten where it's just like these 2 programs are humming on all cylinders. And even though D'Antonio dropped, people would like to say he didn't leave the cupboard bare. You just needed a culture shifter, which was Mel Tucker was.
Right.
And it's just disappointing, man. As a Michigan, I'm still going to watch, but it was just disappointing because I can say we were the better team, and that's me just being pure. Athlete on athlete, our true freshman receiver, dominant. We were the better team. It came down to 3 plays, and I knew it. I said it all game. It's going to come down to 1 or 2 plays, and it did. And once again, we were on the other side of those plays. So I'm not going to blame officiating. I just hope we can pull it together. And all I need for Christmas this year, bro, all I need. I'll be good for a decade if we just beat Ohio State this year. That's all I care about. Just go beat Ohio.
Please,
so that's my biggest disappointment, guys. I know normally I talk about other things. But I had to get that off my chest.
I'm glad you were able to get that off your chest, B. Holmes.
I had to get it off my chest.
And you made me think of a teaser. We're going to have a Blue Bloods Fish Report quick video this week on the Texas job. And one of the dominoes, I think, that impacts that is what you just said, which was Mel Tucker to LSU. And let me just remind our listeners, especially if you're new, go back and listen to some of our early episodes.
Yeah.
We've been talking about Mel Tucker for a while.
Season.
We didn't just jump on him all of a sudden whenever he was 6-0, 7-0. No, we've been talking about him since an early season win, maybe against Northwestern in like a Friday night game that no one cared about.
Very first game against Northwestern, man.
Remember that? And I was talking about that team played with a kind of inspiration that took on the personality of their head coach. And now here we are. He's the national media's darling right now. And that dude, I put something up on my Twitter where he had this look and he went, I'm just going, man.
But when I saw that emotion, I said, they're winning. Like when I saw him do that going into the fourth quarter, I was like, oh my God.
I'm going to eat glass. I'm going to run through a brick wall. I'm going to set myself on fire.
I'll do whatever it takes.
What do you need me to do, coach?
Right. I'll do whatever it takes. Listen, man, I wish Michigan would hire a guy like that. That'd be nice. But shout out to Mel Tucker, man. I'm a fan. Outside of when we play, I actually root for the guy. It's good to see success.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, B. Holmes, let's get to the true minute drill. All right. This week's true minute drill. Hey, you may not even need a full minute. I don't know if I will yet, but
I don't.
Hey, Hugh Freeze makes his return to Oxford.
To the Grove.
He's coming back to the Grove. And if y'all don't know B. Holmes, he contributes video content to the Grove Report, which is Ole Miss's Sports Illustrated site. Yep. And he's been pretty in tune with them throughout the course of this season.
Become a fan.
He's become a fan. I love, though, this story. Hugh Freeze is coming back home to face off against Lane Kiffin. I mean, it's like this seems like it could be the story of the weekend. You've got that going on. You've got A&M Auburn possibly playing in a game with SEC West, ramifications.
Yep.
And meanwhile, College Game Day is going to be in Cincinnati covering the Bearcats playing Tulsa. So
the Golden.
All right, you want to go first? You want me to
go
first?
I'll go first, man.
Okay, if it's your first time listening or watching, we have a deal where we start on the whistle, end on the buzzer. B. Holmes, here we go.
Well, man, I am super excited about this weekend. Hugh Freeze coming back. I'm going to call it the Holy War. You got Hugh Freeze coming over from Liberty, which is a private Christian university, and you got Lane Kiffin. Both of these guys cannot stay out of national headlines, and I am loving this matchup, man. You have the potential Heisman candidate in Matt Corral, if he can rally off the last couple of years. You have the potential number one quarterback off the board and Malik Willis, and everybody should be talking about that. But you know what we're going to talk about? Lane Kiffin versus Hugh Freeze. We know how Hugh left out of Ole Miss, but you know what? He also left with a strong winning record. Lane Kiffin has been brought in as the savior to resurrect that program from the dead. And I don't find it, naive or kind of whatever. I'm missing the word right now, but that you're bringing this Christian university in to play against Ole Miss, man. It is the holy war. You got the guy who's going to resurrect it, the guy who took it down, who is redeeming himself at this university, and I think it's going to be a phenomenal game. I like Ole Miss to win by a touchdown. And that wasn't even supposed to be a pick 'em, but that's what I got, and my time's up. There it is.
Boom. True minute drill. Man, you hit it all. You said it all. I'm going to just see if I got anything to add. I've got nothing prepared for this segment other than it's going to be a national headline. Here we go. Start on the whistle, end on the buzzer. Okay, I guess all I really have to say on this is I'm thinking about an Ole Miss program that pretty much got driven into the ground by Coach Ed Orgeron, right? Houston Nutt kind of pulled it out for a couple seasons there, but then he right back to where Orgeron left it. But it was Hugh Freeze that came to town, revitalized, or I don't even say revitalized. I mean, he brought in a type of recruiting that I don't think the program had ever seen in its history. Look at the NFL right now. Look at the NFL landscape and the footprint from Ole Miss that is there. That's Hugh Freeze. Guys like A.J. Brown, guys like DK Metcalf. I don't know where or when they came in as it pertains to when Hugh Freeze ended up having to move on and leave. And we all know how that story played out. How will Hugh Freeze be received by the Ole Miss fan base? That's what I want to see. And then, I don't know, man, crazier things could happen. Could this man possibly come in and upset his old school, the program that he brought to national prominence?
I love it. That was good. I think it's going to be a great game, man. I think it's going to be, hopefully it's electric. We'll see how Matt Corral's ankles hang up.
It should not be a great game, though, technically. It should be an Ole Miss blowout, right? I mean, it should be.
It should be.
Okay.
It should be. But crazier. This is post-COVID college football season. This crazier things have happened.
Well, B. Holmes, hit them with the socials.
Yeah.
And we'll wrap this thing up.
Well, hey, man, thank you guys for joining us for another episode, man. We love that you guys are supporting us, man. Great things have happened. We haven't even been podcasting 90 days, and, man, you guys' support has been crazy. We went from nobody to we're on the Fish Report now. Shout out to Uncle Fish, man. We appreciate you guys. So go subscribe, Fish Sports on YouTube. Even if you're scrolling past watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on our Twitter handles below us. It's Trey Smith for Trey, Real B Holmes for me. Then follow the Blue Bloods College Game Time podcast on our socials, man. We're on Instagram at Blue Bloods CGT, and we're the new guys on the block, man. We're changing the trend. We're on TikTok, Blue Bloods CGT. I've been thinking of some creative ways to kind of get some more stuff going on there. And, man, follow us on all platforms. Share with a friend. You can follow us on Apple, Spotify, all this stuff matters, man. We're excited. We're believing some big things are happening, and they are happening. So thank you guys for being a part of it.
And the last thing I'll add is this podcast will be on all those platforms Brandon just mentioned, along with the full video will be on Uncle Fish's YouTube, Mike Fisher, Sports Illustrated, Fish Sports. It's all whatever you type it in there. He's the first one that comes up. And you can find it on the link in our social media bios as well to get there. But I also want to say we will be dropping content daily. And the content that we're dropping daily will be fresh content that is not included in this podcast. So if you're someone that just listens through like Apple or Spotify, make sure to check Uncle Fish's YouTube channel because we will be posting some videos this week that will not be included as a part of the actual podcast. It's bonus content. Now, it's free. It's not like you have to pay for it.